Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Podcast. My guest with me is one of my mom's best friends. She helped us get in school after Hurricane Katrina in Fort Worth, Miss Vanessa Houston.
Thank you.
Mm,
Vanessa Houston, and born and raised in New Orleans,
mm.
migrated to Fort Worth, Texas in 2001. And so we've been in Fort Worth, Texas since then, but raised by my mom after my father passed away. So it's was a single parent household from me being age 11.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up with two brothers, so it's a household of four, and I'm the oldest.
Hmm.
So, and it definitely comes out. And so I have my brother Eric, who is right under me,
Mm-hmm.
and Terrence. God bless him. He passed away at the age of 52.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the youngest.
Right.
So gosh, we miss him a lot. But that was our household growing up, and I have an affinity of being a tomboy. So I did it all. I played basketball until everybody outgrew me,
Yeah, good
and
shot.
played touch football until my mama said, "Up, that's not a sport for girls."
Right.
And so, but yeah, that's me growing up.
So, how was life for you after your dad passed?
It was a struggle. Being a daddy's girl,
Mm-hmm.
it was a big struggle, and I had to adjust. Being the only girl, I was always my mama's princess. And so I think she took the extra effort to continue to make me feel like I was still the princess.
Mm-hmm.
Um my mom did a lot as a single parent. We were always taught that if you can always rely on this nucleus, the mom, my two brothers, and me. And we count on each other for everything. I was never one to say, okay, I'm gonna wait on somebody else's motion.
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, call my mom, get some advice, and then I'm off and running. But I just, after my dad passed away, I learned to be very independent and self sufficient.
Right.
But it was traumatic emotionally. I was just 11 years old.
Yeah,
So,
you was still young.
yeah.
So we're gonna talk about being the grandparent of a teen mom. So, did you ever have a time frame when you thought you were gonna be a grandparent?
You know what? Figuratively speaking, I think it's like most parents. It's my children are gonna become adults, get a career, get married, and then they'll have, that's the
Right.
normal cycle that most parents think is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how it happened for me. I mean, I went to work, well, not necessarily in that order, but became an adult, was in college, met someone in high school sweethearts. We dated, got married, had kids.
Right.
I assume that would happen with my kids. Most parents do. So I never thought that I would have a teenager having a baby.
Right.
I was like, that, the same. Babies having babies. Well, that was my reality.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that was a big shocker for me. I went through all kinds of emotions, went through all kinds of things, all kinds of scenarios went through my head.
Right. So, how did you feel about when she told you that she was?
I am not a psychiatrist, but I know I went through some denial phases. I know I did. I went from how can I fix it? Because I'm a fixer. I was like, how can I fix this? To being like, what did I do wrong? Where did I not give her the right kind of advice? And then I went through, okay, is this something we want her to go through? Can she handle going through carrying a child through high school and giving birth?
Mm-hmm.
And do I want my child to become another statistic? And so even considered abortion. And that was something, because of my religious beliefs, I thought I would never consider. But I was looking at my 17-year-old saying, how am I going to fix this? What are my options? But during the course of that, I never thought about what does Jessica feel.
Uh-huh.
It was always all my attention was what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I never thought about how is this impacting Jessica and what does she want? Until later, after I just kind of came down off of my shock.
How much later?
I'm gonna say I gave it about a month or two.
Yeah.
When I came down off my shock, and I'm just like, I looked at my husband, I looked at Michael and said, what do you think? I asked him, I said, what do you think? Because see, everything was about what I was thinking. And I'm just like, what do you think? And he was like, we can get through this. And I'm like, you serious? He's like, yeah, we can get through this. He said, you didn't even talk to Jessica to say, what does she want? And how does she feel about it? And so me and Jessica had that conversation. And you just have to understand my relationship with her at that time. She's a teenager. I always tell people 13-year-olds get a handbook that says your parents don't know nothing and they can't do nothing right. So, and we are very, 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 very much alike. I mean, our mannerisms, she knows what I'm thinking before I even express it. That's how much alike we are.
That's your twin.
Yes, definitely. Now, she don't just look like me. She is me. I always tell people, I said, this is me 2.0. And so, but when she was a teenager, that was like oil and water. We did not get along. When I say my husband played the referee, he played a referee. He was like, Vanessa, you go to the room. Jessica, you go to your room. Because we would just at each other all the time. That is normal. At the time I was going through it, I didn't think it was normal, but it was normal. So once I finally had the opportunity to sit down and talk to her and have a real conversation about her being pregnant, we came to an agreement as a family, because that didn't just impact her. That impacted the whole household. Right. And so we came into a decision to say, yes, we're going to keep the baby. And plus, once you see the baby on ultrasound, that's it. That was a done. I was done. She had me before she came into the world. Right. When I saw that ultrasound, I was just like, yeah, this is it. We done. At that point, Jessica knew me and her daddy had her. She knew all of us had her. Right. No matter what.
Do you feel like that was the ultimate task for you to show her that you have her back no matter what?
Oh, yes. I felt like while she was carrying Ariana, I had to make it known to her that no matter what, she decided that she had my love, she had her daddy's love, and her sisters and her brother's love. That we were still a family no matter what. That we were just bringing in we're going to be plus one. Right. And once she came to terms with that, and her older sister, Monica, she told her, she said, who is this dude? She was ready to go to battle. And that's that could be a whole nother episode. But she went to battle for her sister. Right. And she said, I got you. And that was our mantra. The whole time she was pregnant is that we got you. You don't have to worry. See, you and that baby, we have it. You don't have to worry about nothing. And she didn't. My co-workers from work, once I told them I was about to be a grandpa, first of all, they was in shock. Because they thought because I was the baby in the group. So they were in shock. Then they said, what do you need? How can we help you? Yeah. And some of my co-workers are originally from Louisiana. So they was like, oh, we're coming to the house. We having a baby shower. All my co-workers showed up to her baby shower with handfuls of stuff for her. And so it became when they say it takes a village, it does. And she had a village.
But do you think that's something that people don't really think about when they're in situations like that?
They don't think about it.
How many people really gonna support you through it?
No, they don't think about it. For Jessica, I think she felt like she was going to be alone. And for a long time, I think she felt like she was alone. Even though she had us, she felt like she was isolated from, because, the environment at school. She pregnant. She going to school. That was not an option.
Right. You going to school.
So she had to deal with that. And at that point, I couldn't do anything. She had to do that alone.
Mm-hmm.
She had to make those adjustments. She had to, you know, figure it out in that environment. Cause I couldn't beat it. Nah, I could have, but she didn't. She's very independent. She didn't want me there. She didn't need me there. Cause if she needed me there, she would have called me and she would have said, "Mama, I need you to come to school and handle some things."
Right.
Um, so she had a core group of friends that stuck by her while she was at school. So she she developed her own group to help support her own
Mm-hmm.
support group. But I know at 17 it couldn't have been easy. I remember when I was 17, I could not even phantom or imagine. No, not to mention how my mama would have reacted.
Right.
So it was just being there for her. And speaking of my mom, her grandparents were very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
After being shocked and couldn't, it was like, Jessica? Our Jessica? I'm like, yes. Get over it, but yes.
But do you feel like anytime somebody announces that they're expecting a child, it's always gonna have the same reaction? Cause I know with me being older now and telling my mom, "Oh, I have another baby on the way," she's still somewhat freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that just something that's gonna always happen, no matter what the circumstance is?
So I don't think so. I think it just depends on the circumstances and the situation
Mm-hmm.
and the person. Now, see, if Monica came and told me she was pregnant, I would fall. I'd probably pass out because this is the child who said I ain't having no babies. So I would pass out. But Jessica's married. She has a family now. So if she came, I probably would be more excited
Mm-hmm.
than shocked.
Right.
Michael Jr., his wife is pregnant. I was surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised when he told me.
Mm-hmm.
So my reactions were different. I think if Nadia came and told me she was pregnant, I would be in shock because that's my baby and she quiet. And I'm just like, who is the dude that tricked you? Because see, that's how I'm overprotective.
Right.
So each child, each situation, everything's kind of, dependent upon the person, dependent upon the situation and the time.
Yeah.
So no one reaction, like no one pregnancy is the same thing. That announcement is never the same.
So what was it like mothering your child while she mothering hers?
Ooh, that was, I don't know, it came natural for me because once my grandbaby got here, all my motherly instincts kicked in, but then I had to take a step back and not be over and be the mama so much, but be the grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
But as an infant, when she first come into the world, all of that kicked in, and then it was, now I have to teach Jessica what this means and what to do. Now, at 14 years old, I am definitely the grandmother.
Right.
And she is definitely the mother. And she is a very, very good mother. There are things that I watch her do that had I been that knowledgeable in situations that I would have done some of the things that she did as opposed to what I've done. And she has a patience about her and a determination that you don't see in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This, when she was pregnant and she was a senior in high school, she says, I'm not going to be that statistic. I am going to college. I am going to achieve what I intended. She graduated from UTA, University of Texas in Arlington, with dual degrees.
Mm-hmm.
She has her master's degree. She's pursuing her PhD. So she has a bachelor's in psychology and anthropology. She's got her master's degree, I think it's in psychology. She's pursuing her PhD as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes a dedication and a determination and a patience that not everybody possesses.
Right.
She applies those same that same dedication and patience to her child and to rearing her child. And so I my hat's off to her.
Right.
Because once she got to a certain point, she would say, Mama, I got this. Let me do it. I can raise Ariana. I know what I'm doing. Even though we were all in the same household.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take a step back and my husband said, let her do it. You hear if she stumbles, if she falls, you here to help her back up, stand back up. But let her do it. And she did. And when I would say, hey, what about? It didn't start about, hey, what about? It was like, Jessica, you need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But once she got to be like 20 years old, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. She grown.
Right.
And at 21, I couldn't tell her anything anyway.
Right.
So to keep, not so much about keeping peace, but giving her the independence that she already had and had earned for me to step back was a challenge for me, but that was me. That wasn't Jessica being an adult, being a parent. That was Vanessa saying, let your child do her. Right. Let her be the parent you knew she can be. Let her be the adult you raised her to be.
Yeah, just trusting that you know she's
gonna that I did the right things and that she's gonna pick up that baton and keep on running.
Yeah. And
so that was a challenge for me because they'll tell you I'm very controlling. So
that just was one of your biggest struggles?
That was my biggest struggle. It was like letting go for a parent is always a struggle because you're always gonna be mom. I tell y'all could be 50 years old. You still gonna be my baby.
Right.
Y'all are still gonna be niece, nephews. Because I'm always gonna be either auntie, I'm gonna be mama. I'm always gonna be your support group.
Right.
No matter what. So it's hard letting go. But at some point, my husband goes, cut the apron strings. Jessica about to tear them and rip them from you anyway. So just cut them. Mm-hmm. Let her be her. And that is hard for someone like me to do. Very hard.
But that's goes with just her being observant and knowing that I put myself in a situation that I probably shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make sure I get myself out of it.
Yes, it is. It's about taking ownership of the decisions you make. Exactly. And she did. She did. She took ownership. Even at a young age, she took ownership. And it was during a time that she was vulnerable. Her grandfather had recently passed. That was my stepdad. And she's born on his birthday. So it was an emotional time frame for her. And so for a guy to sweet talk and get, that was, like I said, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know, you're vulnerable, but in that vulnerability, she got pregnant. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, we here now.
Right, nothing else we could do.
Yeah. So, and I don't, if you can't say nothing nice about a certain person, you shouldn't say it. So I'm not going to, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be quiet.
So what question you have for me?
Oh my gosh. So as a parent, even with sons, how would you react if your son came back? Because see, that's a different perspective. Right. Your son come back and say, Dad, guess what? You about to be a granddad. And he's still in high school.
Right.
How would you handle that situation?
Whew, I didn't never even think about that. I'll probably, I would be like, I definitely ask why. I'll try to understand what the thought process was.
All right, you're a young man, so yeah, let's be real.
Cause like, I really don't know. I guess I won't really know until if I was put in that situation. But like I said, I probably wouldn't be. I just wonder why, or what made you really think to do all that, and why you make it that difficult.
The precautions.
Because I didn't do it, so what made you want or think, oh well, it's gonna be all right? Okay. Yeah, that's really all it'll be. But I really don't know. I hope I don't have to know.
That's what I'm about to say. I pray that you don't have to know.
Right.
But you know, that is the reality of the world we live in.
Right.
There are more teen pregnancies than when I was growing up. And I don't see that trend changing, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because teenagers have more vulnerabilities and they're just more carefree. I just don't know the why behind it.
I think it's easier to get to it now
Yes,
because of social media. It's easier to see it and
that's
all the
true.
things that go on in the world.
And it is widely accepted.
Yeah, everything is okay now.
It's okay. Whereas before it wasn't.
Yeah, nothing was okay.
No. And how many times did you hear, "Oh, what you do in the dark is gonna come to the
Yeah,
light"?
all the time. But now people don't care.
They don't care. Okay,
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah.
Then what? That's their response. Then what? It's in the light. You know, so yeah. I hope you never have to deal with that. But yes.
But everything's still a possibility.
Yes, everything's a possibility. Children, they're introduced to more things at a much earlier age.
Yeah.
But that also makes them wiser.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know more and they see more. They also see the things that, hey, I'm not, I don't want to be involved in that. No, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
So that's also the things that they run into.
But how another question, like is there a way that we can stop our kids from doing certain things or like making sure that they don't?
I don't think we can, because again, back to they get the handbook at 13.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's a way you can stop them. It's more about education and having that open conversation to say, hey, and I think if I would have had that conversation with mine early on, I had certain conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought I needed to have the conversation with them at 14, 15, and 16 about having sex. I just never dawned on me to say my children would be the ones to be having sex at an early age.
Right.
And now, Ariana's 14. I have that conversation. We have an open dialogue.
Right.
And with her mama's consent. I'm just like, and it's more of, hey, these actions have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And not just pregnancy. There's all kinds of diseases out there you can happen on. You don't know people. You don't know where they've been.
Right.
So for me, it was about education outside of what they teach you in sex ed in high school. It's about, here is where Nana stands on this. Here, you need to be able to have that conversation with your mom. And Jessica's open enough to have that conversation with Ariana.
Right.
But it's about having a conversation when you think they are mature enough to have that conversation and understand what you're saying and let them know how you feel. I tell Ariana all the time, it's like, look, you 14 years old. You got the whole world ahead of you. Boys and sex should be the last thing on the agenda.
Yeah, because it's distraction.
It's a distraction.
Drew, girls are a distraction. He like, what you talking about?
What's that about?
But thank you for doing this episode with me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, definitely.
All right. This is another episode. Man, open, honest, vulnerable, and tune in next week. And this is the weekly podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tune in next week.